Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so we got another chapter of Black Clover this week. And before we even get into the actual story bits of this chapter, I want to take a moment to praise the art that this week's chapter actually had put forward. Because the art in this chapter, the art in this chapter was on point. I mean, seriously, the art in this chapter was just so amazing. Especially those fight scenes and those scenes where we got to see the Great Demon King in full detail. Like, everything about it was just so great. In fact, now that I think about it, I actually think that the reason why I actually might like the art in this chapter so much is mostly stemming from how amazing the Great Demon King looked in this chapter. Because usually when we actually get to see him, we only get to see him in mostly silhouette, maybe a quick flash of him here and there, but we never actually get to see a full, extended, detailed preview of what he looks like in him in action. But in this chapter, we actually spend a lot of time focusing on his design, focusing on his detail, and seeing him actually work instead of just being in a silhouette. And I think just because of the fact that we actually get to see an extended period of time of him, that I actually took the time to actually sit there and appreciate how well designed he is and how much detail actually goes into the Great Demon King. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I look at how great he looks in this chapter. I'm hoping that once the anime actually catches up to this, they can do it justice. Because I gotta be honest, the quick flashes that we get of the Great Demon King, even though it is mostly just silhouette and it's kind of supposed to be not that detailed because it's not supposed to be that important just yet. But the quick flashes that we get of him in every episode of the anime in the beginning of each episode, they haven't really looked all that great. And again, it's not supposed to, it's supposed to be quick flashes. It's the equivalent of a silhouette. But at the same time, you feel like they could do a lot more with that. And I'm hoping that when they actually get to this part of the series, they actually do go into full detail and actually put the work into making him look as amazing as he does in this week's chapter. Now, I actually kind of find it interesting that we actually got to follow the fight in this chapter. I assume just because it would go with the way Tabarayuki has usually done things in this arc, that we would actually, especially since we already know the outcome of this fight, that we would just completely skip it. We just fast forward to right past it when Lumiere was actually dying and being sealed up by Sekre. Just a quick brief mention of what happened in the fight and then just go right past it. But instead, we actually get to see the full fight in all its detail. And what's even more interesting is the fact that we see that Lumiere most likely would have lost that fight, despite the fact that throughout the entire series, he's been built up as the great first Magic Emperor, the most powerful human to ever live, someone who defeated even the Great Demon King single-handedly. We see that in this chapter, while he did put up a good fight and actually was holding his own against Lich in that Great Demon King form, if it wasn't for Sekre coming in at the last second with the magical tools to help him out, he would have completely lost that fight. He had no real chance of winning that fight altogether. And you know what? I actually appreciate the fact that we actually get to see that he won that fight, because that makes him more of a relatable and actual likable character. Because up until this point, like I said, since we had this presumption that he was just broken character, I always just thought of him as a broken character. And it's actually the same way I actually felt about Julius throughout his entire run in the series, because of the fact that every time we saw him use his magic, he was shown to be basically a broken character. And in fact, I actually like the way they actually kind of show that actually show him losing or somewhat losing in the chapter better than they did when it came to Julius actually losing his fight. Because unlike Julius, where they actually had to put someone else in danger in order for Julius to slip up, this was seemingly just, no, Lumiere just straight up lost the fight. He just wasn't strong enough. The fact that we get to see Lumiere actually struggle in this fight and almost lose it completely without having to get assistance from someone else basically just makes him more of a relatable character than Julius ever was. Which I wanted to add is not to say that Julius wasn't a relatable character. I actually did like Julius, despite the fact that I'm kind of shitting on him right now. It's just that basically the way he was just growing to be so fucking broken just kind of made it seem like, he just kind of made him a little bit less interesting than he should have been. So Sekre comes in with a magic tool that the humans use to steal the mana from the elves and actually start off the massacre. And what's actually kind of interesting about this is the fact that I was under the impression by last week's chapter that it was actually Lich and Lumiere who worked together to create that magic tool in order to basically benefit all mankind of basically sharing mana to everyone else. But what we end up finding out, and basically this is from 3 different translations that I read of the chapter, basically in all 3 translations they all say that Sekre was actually the one who created that magic tool herself, basically in a way to help Lumiere achieve his goal. And of course, she feels guilty about the fact that her tool was used in this way to basically not only kill his best friend, but kill his sister, and basically just wipe out an entire race. And when they end up using the tool, at first it seems like, all right, they're going to use it to actually drain the demon of the Great Demon King of his mana, so they can actually defeat him. And when it explodes, you think, all right, well, shit, that didn't work. What are they going to do now? But we end up finding out that basically it actually did end up working. They used it. The tool ended up draining enough of the dark mana inside of Lich, so that he could actually gain control of the Great Demon King momentarily, so he could stop him in his tracks and basically let Lumiere kill him off. So again, Lich, like twice in 2 chapters, sacrificed himself in order to save the day. So basically, like I said, Lumiere needed the assist from other people. First, he needed Sekre to come in and save him with a magic tool. Then he needed Lich to basically stop fighting back completely. Then we get this moment where the demon's basically like, all right, well, I'm just gonna kind of bounce out of here. My plan didn't work, but hey, at least I got the Grimoire. And then we actually see Sekre, who seemingly came out of nowhere with the magic stones, and uses them to basically try to seal the demon away. And actually, this is actually where we end up finding out exactly how she ended up grabbing those horns, which was kind of speculated. I believe I did actually read a theory saying that she gained the horns in some way trying to fight off against the demon. I forget exactly where I read it, but I'm pretty sure I did see someone come up with that theory. But basically, she uses a magic stone, which at first when I read the chapter seemingly came out of nowhere, the fact that she had the magic stones on her possession. And then I realized, wait, like I was trying to figure out exactly where the magic stone was, because you don't actually see it in her hands or anything like that. Then in my second reading, I noticed the necklace that was around her neck. I was like, oh, the magic stones are actually in that. But where the fuck did that necklace come from? And then in my third reading, I was like, wait, Techia is wearing the exact same necklace that we see Sekre have later on in the chapter. So she basically just took the necklace that I guess Techia was wearing as like a ceremonial, like kind of garment or kind of like, you know, accessory for her wedding. Took that because it had the magic stones inside of it, and then used those magic stones to seal off the demon, which basically ends up causing her to gain the horn. So because of the fact that she is using magic stones that aren't meant to be used by people who are basically aren't elves and who aren't blessed by mana, ends up turning her into something else, basically turn her, I guess, kind of into a half demon. They don't exactly clarify exactly what she gets turned into in this chapter, but you could just kind of assume because of the horns that she turns into a half demon, and because of the fact that Witch used the stones or used forbidden magic, which is actually what they classify Sekre using her spell and using the stones at the same time as kind of like forbidden magic. The fact that he turned into a demon by doing that, you can just assume that she's getting the same fate. But anyway, she uses the stones to basically kind of try to seal him away. And then basically at the last minute, right before she actually does seal him away, he uses the magic stones to basically enacts a plan that we see him enact later on in the arc, or earlier on in the arc, where when he was reincarnated in that elf body, and then used that elf to basically enact the second part of his plan. And that's basically what we see in this chapter. He kind of just like puts the first part of that into motion, where he basically uses a spell so that his soul gets bonded with that elf that was supposed to be reincarnated, so he takes over the body instead. So after she ends up sealing the demon, we just basically kind of just get into the epilogue of this whole entire flashback, where we see her right after the demon fight, or right after the fight's over. She seals the first magic emperor up in stone so that he can be useful in the future when the demon eventually breaks her seal. We get like a quick mention of her basically saying that she spent the next 500 years kind of just guarding the Grimoire. And then we come back to the present day where the two of them are heading to the castle in order to fight against the demon with Asta and all the rest of them. Now, 2 interesting things from this little part of the chapter, though, from this part of the flashback. One, we end up finding out that she did not intentionally turn herself into an anti-magic bird. We end up finding out from the dialogue right immediately after she ends up sealing Lumiere in the stone, is that basically she wakes up about like a few months or maybe a few years, she's not exactly sure, but eventually she ends up waking up inside the body of the anti-magic bird, and then she spends the next about 500 years basically protecting Asta's Grimoire. Which actually brings me to my next point, which is actually kind of interesting and kind of a thought I had immediately after I got done reading the chapter. Okay, so she ended up protecting the Grimoire for 500 years. It leads me to beg the question, why wasn't she in Hage Village then? Like, if the Grimoire was there, why was she not there? Because the first time we ever see canonically Nero or Sekre in the series is during the train, or not the training, what is the word for it? The kind of like the initiation process, or like the tryouts for the Magic Knights when Asta is attacked by all the magic birds. And that's literally the first time we ever see Nero in the series, and we don't see in the flashback that she was in Hage Village protecting the Grimoire or any kind of hints of it. So it makes me think, why was she not there if she was supposed to be protected the entire time? Then we basically get to the end of the chapter where we see basically Asta, Yuno, and Patry show up to the fight with the demon. The demon kind of acknowledges them, that the fact that they're there. He kind of, congratulates them for coming to their death for some reason. And then he does monologue to himself a little bit in his head that basically, that anti-magic's going to be a little bit more of a problem than I thought it was. And then literally right after he thinks that, we see Lumiere and Sekre come crashing through, and they're like, oh, rematch. And that's literally where the chapter ends, where basically the demon a little bit afraid and a little bit excited about the fact that Lumiere is back so he can get his revenge. But at the same time, you could tell just by the look on his face that he's a little bit worried about the situation, because we have two extremely powerful mages, Lich and Lumiere. We have the person who sealed him away, Sekre. We have Asta, who has anti-magic, and we have Yami, who has dark magic. Everyone who's basically he's weak to right now is in the same room. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the chapter. That's it for the review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about this chapter, what you thought about actually the flashback in general, these past two chapters that we had, where we had to find out the actual real history, what happened 500 years ago during the massacre, find out more about Lumiere and Sekre, their true identities and what they're actually like. Let me know in the comment section down below how you felt about these past two chapters, and how you actually feeling about the arc in general. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the chapter. That's it for a review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Where's the camera? There it is. Peace.